I'm now joined by Chris Shays, an old and dear friend, the former Connecticut congressman. He served as senior member of the Finance and Homeland Security Committees. He's a Republican, but he voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016, and he has endorsed Joe Biden this time around. He is in Maryland. What led you to go for Biden?
Well, I really like him. I like the fact that he is willing to reach out to both sides of the aisle, and that's not something new. That's what he's done all his life. I served 21 years in Congress. I worked with him on a number of issues, particularly women issues, and he was always willing to compromise. He was willing to give the other person some credit, and frankly, I enjoyed it. I worked with him on the crime bill, candidly.
When did your party become the party of, not the Republican Party, but the Trump Party?
Well, I saw indications of that when I ran for the Senate in 2012, and I ran against Linda McMahon, who, to her credit, she and her husband have a very successful business, World Wrestling, and she was sometimes on TV, and I realized that celebrities really had an advantage in the Republican Party. Republicans seem to like celebrities, and Republicans seem to like money. And the fact that Donald Trump doesn't tell the truth, the fact that I think he's an immoral man, the fact that I don't think he has principles didn't seem to matter to my Republican colleagues. He's a celebrity, and they love celebrities.
Do you think more of your Republican colleagues should join you and John Kasich and Mitt Romney? I think has not Jordan. He's against the president. You think more of you should come out?
Yeah, it's obviously a little easier if you're not presently in public office. So Romney's probably been the best example of all of us. But the bottom line is, think about it. He opposed two senators who were critical of him, Flake and the senator from Tennessee, and they couldn't run again. You had Mark Sanford, who said one or two critical things of the president, and the president comes out in a primary, 4 days before the election, supports his opponent. Donald Trump has the ability to defeat anyone. He doesn't have the ability to elect someone.
All right. Did the Biden team reach out to you to help?
I reached out to the Biden team and said I wanted to support Joe for president, and they eventually got to me. And then there were five of us: Tom Coleman, you had Jim Greenwood, you had Susan Molinari, and you had Jim Greenwood, and we reached out and we got 27 members to support him. So we were happy about that.
Do you like Do you like the choice of Kamala Harris for vice president?
Yeah, I think it's a good choice, and she's very capable. She's articulate. She's thoughtful. She has convictions, and I kind of wonder about why we're willing so much to take criticism on the crime bill. The crime bill included the assault weapon ban. The crime bill was a response to getting more police. The irony I have is that in the African American community, they complained that the police were only in the white districts protecting the wealthier and not in the African American districts and not protecting those with less resources. And so we reversed that. And there's the criticism, too many police, except, and this is the thing that I think is interesting, polls seem to show that 80% of the African American community want more police in their neighborhoods, not less. So we're listening to a smaller group who are critical.
How does Trump do what he does? How does he get away with that? He's a confirmed liar. We know he lies. How does he get away with that with a responsible press following him?
Okay, and this may sound offensive, but the same way Hitler did. Goebbels said if you tell a lie 3 times, people begin to believe it's the truth. And the only way someone can get away with lie after lie if society permits it. And the Republicans as a group are permitting him to be someone very immoral who lies, etc. And it's alarming. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It's just alarming. History will look back and be stunned by it. I hope if they're not stunned by it, it means that Trump won re-election and he was able to further kind of degrade our country and our democracy.
Do you think that his message of law and order, which sounds kind of weird because he says, elect me and I'll stop the violence in the streets. Well, the violence in the streets are happening while you're in. So that seems funny to me. But what about that?
Well, it's there's some reality to it. I mean, frankly, I'm stunned that we are permitting the looting in the streets, the breaking down of buildings, the telling police to stand by and not try to prevent it. Um, that I find stunning. And if you ask me what the potential Achilles heel is of Joe Biden, it's that the combination of sanctuary cities, which has an element of lawlessness to it, because it means we're protecting people who are here illegally, and the rioting. That's the potential Achilles heel. And if Joe loses, he'll lose because of that. And one other thing: this president is unbelievably successful with the stealth approach to politics. All the digital work that he does, it's stunning, and I mean, think of it. He has 80 million people who follow him. Joe has 8 million people who follow him. 80 million? He had 40 million who watched one of the biggest episodes that Trump had. The most that have followed Joe Biden is under 80,000.
Well, does that cause you to be a little fearful about November 3rd?
Oh, I am. I'm very concerned. I think he could win. I think are people who will vote for him who aren't going to admit it. Some who frankly are downright racist, others who may not be racist, but they come close to it. And I don't say that reluctantly. I mean, you can't have a president who sends this little message out that says, and he did it in the convention. And by the way, his convention was very effective. But in the convention, he has, the white family in St. Louis with their guns, aimed at the marchers, some who didn't behave well, and then basically saying, if you're not careful, they're going to move into your district. They're going to move into the suburbs. I mean, that's basically saying to me, blacks, Latinos are going to move in your district under Joe Biden, which is just silly. It's not true, and it's irrelevant.
Are you worried about what might happen on November 3rd in the streets on Election Day and the day after?
Of course, think about it. Nixon lost to Senator Kennedy, 8,000 votes in Chicago, 25,000 votes in Texas. He probably won both states, but he knew that you in the end you have to accept defeat. Al Gore accepted defeat when he only potentially lost Florida by 500 votes, because he knew in the end society demands that we accept the verdict and we don't question the verdict and we live with the verdict and we move on.
But the question was, what will happen here?
Did I avoid the question? I
Yeah, you
think
did.
all hell, I think all hell will break loose, only because this president takes the exact opposite view that Richard Nixon took, the exact opposite view that Al Gore took, and he won't accept defeat even if he loses by millions. And if he does ultimately lose and the power is transferred, I don't think you'll see him in the inauguration wishing the next president well.
Will you see him in the inauguration at all?
No, you won't. You won't. What I used to, when I was a member of Congress, I would do something that just a handful of us did. I would be on the other side of the Capitol, on the east side where the helicopter was, and I would watch the dramatic moment when the new president ushers the former president and his family to the helicopter. And it's one of the most stunning things in a democratic society, the transfer of power. And it's accepted by both sides. And by the way, in Delaware, they do something really unique. They bury the hatchet. The next day after the election, they have a parade with the winner and loser together burying the hatchet. No, Donald Trump will take out his hatchet and throw it.
What do you make of Trump's campaign against mail-in voting?
Part of it is legitimate. Um, I have more than one story talking about how campaigns are run. In cities, if you only have one party that manages it and you don't have another party watching it, you have problems. In Bridgeport, Connecticut, I had my poll workers kicked out for an hour and a half almost every election. And in the last election, now I lost the election, so this is not a complaint. I lost my election in '08, so I'm not complaining. But that morning, Emily comes up to me and says, Chris, a funny thing happened to me at the polling station. I said, Emily, what was that? She said, well, they handed me a ballot filled out all Democrat. I almost fell to my knees because I knew right then and there I was going to possibly lose the election. And I didn't think that was going to happen. I said to her, Emily, would you tell the press what happened? She said, no, they took care of it. I said, Emily, how did they take care of it? Well, they gave me another ballot. And I said, excuse me, what the F did they do with the ballot you had? I know what they did with it. They just stuck it in the machine. And so, there are, and probably in some Republican districts down south, the same thing happened. So I do have some concern. And when I was a poll, one year I was funded by Stanford to go into my own district and check out the list of voters. And there were so many that had left. There were, sometimes 3 families in one home still in the listing book. And so if they just send out to everyone, you're going to see people fill out ballots. So we do have a problem. I mean, that's the honest fact.
Chris, always great talking to you. We'll see you again very soon.
I love being with you, Larry, and God bless you and your family, and much love for you.